And it's Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Facebook, YouTube Live, DV from Fort Lauderdale, DV, KV from out east in the Ville. What's up, Varner?
What's up, my brother?
You got it, you got it, you got it. Hey, we got a show for you tonight. If you notice our little teaser today, we said we told you we're going to talk about Trump's assassination attempt, and we said wink, wink, because there's going to be a wink, wink factor to this thing tonight. But before we do this, we've been away for a couple of weeks, and we want to come out tonight and honor a true American hero, and we want to dedicate tonight's show to Texas U.S. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Sheila Lee was a true fighter for the people. She fought for the people way beyond the 7th Ward in Houston, way beyond the state of Texas, way beyond the southwestern region of the United States. Anywhere in the United States that she saw injustice, she used her office to fight it and to stand against it. She alone is the single architect of what we celebrate on the 16th of June, June 16th. She kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until she introduced that bill 10 years, until finally it passed as a national holiday and was passed by our great President Joseph R. Biden. She said, when talking about the George Floyd police reform bill, that she's been one of the advocates along with Attorney Ben Crump. She reminded him when he was deflated about it not passing the first time it was voted. She reminded him that it was 10 times that she fought to get the George Floyd bill. To get the Juneteenth bill. 10 consecutive years she introduced it as a lesson about perseverance, and that's what she was. Sheila Jackson Lee went back and she ran for the office of mayor in her home city of Houston, and was defeated in a bitter primary race in which questionable recordings were used to portray her as a bad manager. I saw her funeral celebration. The people who worked for, yes, she had a high turnover rate, but the people who worked for her were instilled with the perseverance, a love, a respect, and a sense of justice. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, we would say you left us too soon, but we wouldn't say that because we believe in the power of the Lord to make that call. But we say we are sure going to miss you. Thank you for everything you did on this side. Tonight, the dialogue salutes Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. So tonight we're on. We've been away for a minute or two, and Kim's been away on assignment, and we've had an opportunity to get to utilize his services during this break. And the night. Let me say this also. You see us doing these dedications and honoring those who have gone on. And this is a season that seemingly a lot of us have lost a lot of people close to us. You hear us refer to her as Madam Producer. Madam Producer is Kim's first niece, and she's our oldest daughter. Madam Producer was sick. That's one of the reasons we decided to forego the show a couple of weeks ago. She was in the hospital. She was hospitalized. She's back. She was really uncomfortable, and we played a rerun. We're just glad that she's back in the saddle. That's Latoya Vaughn. Latoya, we're so glad that you're back with us and producing the show. It just didn't even feel right without you being here. Even though you have very adequate backup, we're glad that you're back, and we don't take anything for granted. We thank God for your recovery as you are recovering. We're grateful. So while we were gone, so much happened. So much happened. We can't go back and grab all of it. But we are going to talk about the shooting that occurred about 3 weeks ago now in Butler, Pennsylvania, where soon to be nominated Republican candidate Trump was allegedly shot in the right ear by an AR-15 that did not even remove the skin from the ear. And I want to let Kim kind of take it over because he was one of the first quote unquote conspiracy theorists. And before we go to the videotape, just tell us your, we're going to critique the Secret Service and all that they did, but just your whole idea of the shooting and the suspicions of revolving that. Before we go to the tape, go ahead and give us a lead on that, Kim.
Well, first of all, thank God, Madam Producer's back with us. Troy, you the bomb. You know, I have to call you to help me get on. I'm a dinosaur when it comes to this social media stuff. So thank you, and thanks God for healing you and bringing you back to us. So to jump right into it, probably 20 minutes after the assassination attempt, I called Dozell and I was talking on the phone about it, and I told him something about that just didn't look right. Now I'm not going to sit here and say that he staged this or anything, or that 45 staged this, or that it was a fake assassination attempt or whatever. I just do have my opinions about what happened, and they're based on looking at the videos and the pictures, from the assassination attempt, and just something just don't look right with it. As most of y'all know, I'm did 26 years with the sheriff's office here. I was a SWAT team member. I did some pretty extensive stuff with the sheriff's office. I got to work with Secret Service numerous times. I guarded 4 presidents. So, and some things just went on that just didn't look right to me from the very beginning. I mean, 20 minutes afterwards, I was saying some things, and the same points that I brought out, even on Fox News Network. Now, I don't CNN, but on Fox News Network, I can't think of the guy's name. He used to be a Secret Service agent. He brought up some of those same exact points the other night, some of the same exact points, and we're going to get more into that in a minute or two. But that just kind of confirmed what I was thinking, that something just ain't right about this assassination attempt. And I wouldn't be surprised if later on down the road, a year down the road, 2 years, 5 years down the road, if something comes out and something is fishy about it. Something just didn't look right to me. So, we'll get into it. Dozell, go ahead and I don't know if you're ready for me to jump right into it like that now, but I'm gonna play on Dozell's lead on it. So,
well, I'm going to kind of I'm going to follow you on this, but let's go to the first video, and Kim, there in the order that I sent them, and we'll stop and we'll introduce the photos that Kim shot in. I'll tell you to insert those. I know we didn't have time to go over those. So let's start with my first video, and let's just look at the whole attempt.
Take a look at what happened.
Okay, I probably would be one of these conspiracy theorists also if a man had not lost his life, and we're gonna insert a little we're gonna interject our personalities in this because that's what these shows are about. But I'm gonna say if there had not been a homicide involved, I too would say, or unless we just say somebody unknowingly took it for the team, this was just a failure on the Secret Service part of epic proportion, and we're going to kind of say that for the latter part. But let's just look at some of the suspicious incidents involving this. First of all, I mentioned that an AR-15, and I've talked to some people, and Kim, I know you shoot those. I've seen you shoot them on the range. Would AR-15 leave that ear intact like that, even if it had just glazed it?
That bullet would have I mean, I look at him now, since he stopped wearing the bandages and everything, his ear looked like it's nothing that's ever happened to it. I don't want to be judgmental about this. A lot of people know I'm not a big Trump supporter. That's no secret. But I don't want to judge the man, and say that he would go this far, but it just looks like he did. His ear doesn't look like there's enough damage on it. And I get it. He turned his head right at the right time where it just grazed his ear. From what he said, that he felt the bullet tearing through the flesh of his ear. And the bullet definitely didn't tear through his flesh of his ear. You can see that. His ear is still intact. That AR would have taken his ear off. So if that answers your question.
Yeah, so if we were conspiracy theorists, or we say that there was something fishy about this in Denmark, I mean, it wasn't until I heard a man who served under the idiocracy of the 45's administration, the head of the FBI, Director Bray, came out 2 weeks, I guess, and it was his thing on that Friday to put it to bed whether or not it was the bullet that hit his ear, or if it was glass from something that was shattered, or if it was some other object, as we're sitting here discussing AR-15 buzzing it and leaving that much of his ear intact. He's a man of integrity, and I just don't think that he would come out. What would you say? But what would you say could have done and involved in a shooting of a high-powered rifle of velocity of that distance? Could have done that, and not, what would you think could have caused him to be shot in the ear and just left a burn or a scrape or whatever it did to it?
Well, I mean, any round, if it scrapes your body, your ear, any part of your body, I mean, it could just leave like a small flesh wound. It depends on how it hits you, the angle it hits you, and all that plays a part. So that's why I say I can't say you can sit here. I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't get hit with a round. There's actually a picture, and I think we have a picture of it, of the round few inches behind his head, 10 inches or so behind his head, flying through the air. The one that it's either the one that missed him or it's one that grazed him and kept going. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some expert and say that he didn't get shot. I don't know all that. They were talking about glass possibly hitting his ear or whatever. I don't know where any glass would have come from out there. That would have hit his ear. The round could have hit that would have hit his ear. So I mean, it's just a question in my mind about it. I just I don't know. And Donald Trump has, I guess I could say, lived his lifestyle in a kind of way that kind of makes you suspicious about some of the things he's done in the past, So that's why a lot of people feel this. I'm not the only one that feels this. It's been on the news and everything. Everybody's seen it on the news and they talk about it. All the photographers having to be in the right place to take just perfect photos, and that's going to come up later. Yeah. So it's just everything, just the stars and the moon was just lined up so perfect for this to be the type assassination attempt that would put him out towards the people to make him more popular. And that's right down Donald Trump's lane, to do something like that. So
yeah, only because somebody did lose their life and two other people were seriously injured in the incident. And am I kind of exercising some measure of restraint? I guess my question would be, if he were to stage something like that, what could he have done to have received? I mean, how could have that have been staged with anything AR-15 bullets shooting him on the side of the ear like that.
Well, I hate to think of it this way, but in warfare, they have what they call collateral damage, where they know that somebody else is going to have to fall, or take a bullet or take a round or whatever. But in order to get their mission accomplished, they're considered collateral damage. And I hate to say that. They had a fireman lose his life, 2 people critically injured, and my heart goes out to them and their family and all. I would hate to think that they use these people as collateral damage, but I just see some fishy things going on.
So I guess one of the questions I have is how, from your opinion and your expertise, how could that have been, what's the word I'm looking for? How could it have been staged and not put his life more at risk with what we saw? If it was anything short of a bullet, what could they have done? Could he have gone down and could there have been a shot fired, and the shot was away from him, and he goes down and has, I don't know, blood already, his ear was already cut, and he goes down and pinches his ear. What would be a way that he could stage that? But I know you kind of given.
And that's out of my hands, but I mean, there are many ways to do it. I mean, if the shots could go off, they miss him with that AR-15 that the young man was shooting. Those are very accurate rifles from 150 yards. Man, it's hard to miss a target. It's hard to miss a target. This kid was supposed to be in his shooting team at school or something. So this wasn't he wasn't a first timer shooting that rifle. That rifle is very accurate. From what I understand, he had a scope on it, which not using open sights. So with the scope, it makes it even more easier to hit your target. Like I said, 150, 130 yards, 150 yards. That's a no-brainer. That's an easy shot. 45 turned his head might at the right time. Well, if he didn't turn his head, if it was a bullet that hit his ear, it would have hit him square in his head. So, like I said, maybe the moon and the stars were lined perfect that night for a reason or something that day, and he was spared. But it's just a whole lot that goes on. Starting with they saw this kid getting on top of that roof, and let me back up a little bit further. You and I was talking about this, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into it if that's cool with you.
Go ahead.
Starting from the very beginning. We know that this is years of shoot over a roof and turn too close, and Mac Anderson was in the Marine Corps. They make excellent snipers. He's chimed in. There is video of the shooter on a roof entirely too close to where 45 was. That's my point. That's part of my point, Mikey. You know how accurate those rifles are from that distance. But so to start off with, first of all, they had people. The Secret Service gets to a place 2 days ahead of time, and they accommodate the highest roofs in that area in a certain circumference. They accommodate the tallest roofs so they can see what's going on low. You want your snipers to be up high so they can see low. If they would have done that sniper had no business ever getting up on that roof. Especially within 130 yards. That's and they said the Secret Service was saying that was out of their distance, out of their range for what they had set up for the president. But they still would have been able to see that guy 130 yards out, and he's walking with a rifle in that distance. Secret Service first came out and said because he was out of their and I'm range. I don't want to say range. It's a different word I'm looking for. Their target area like this.
Their perimeter.
Their perimeter, thanks. That's what I'm looking for. Because he was outside of their perimeter that they had closed off for President Trump to make his speech. He was outside of their perimeter, and that being an open carry state, there was nothing that they could do about that. That's bull. You got a former president and a candidate for president getting ready to speak. So because this guy's outside the perimeter, there's nothing they can do about that. I'm not buying that, and I don't think nobody's buying it. They roasted him on Congress about that. So they would have stopped him, first of all those people notifying law enforcement saying this guy has a rifle. Then they allow him to jump up on the roof and and set up a rifle with a tripod and take aim. And they let him do all that. Nobody saw him, or some people saying that they saw him, they didn't take action, or whatever the case may be. I've heard different stories. There's no way that guy would have been able to get up on that roof when it's been 130 yards if they had the highest roofs, taken over, and then they would have seen him. They would have definitely stopped him before he had a shot fired. And if they didn't, if they missed him, then a lot of people saying that Secret Service slipped, and they did. If that's the case, if they slipped that bad, then they all need to be fired. But something just fishy about that to start with. After the shots were fired, and President Trump immediately went down. When he went down, the Secret Service people on the stage did dive on top of him, but they didn't cover him up properly. And the photographers that was below the stage on the ground level and right in front of the stage, they ran directly up to him and started taking photographing pictures. And they were able to get a picture of him with supposedly the Secret Service people piled on top of him where his body isn't exposed. They just happened to get a perfect shot of his ear and him with blood running down his face. That's just suspicious to me. And Madam Producer, if you have those pictures, you can put that one up where he's down. There's one where he's down and he's holding his face. I mean, the Secret Service people on top of him. This was right after he had been shot, and he's laying there on the ground and he's got blood trickling from his ear. You can see him looking through there. I mean, he would have been totally covered up. Not this one. I'm going to show that's another picture. Well, actually, while you have it on that picture there, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Those photographers, there was 3 of them that were down below the stage when the assassination attempt took place. They were able to run right up to him, point cameras at him. There's no way Secret Service would allow that to happen, because you don't know if that first shot was a decoy or whatever, and these guys will come to finish the job or whatever. There's no way Secret Service would allow them to run up there with those cameras, point them at the president, and take pictures like that close. Somebody would have drawn down on them and make them drop them cameras back up or something. There's no way they would have been able to run up on them like that. And that's one of this picture that you're showing right now. That's what is showing how close they were to him. And the picture that I'm referring to is the one that he's actually laying there on the ground, and he has they're shooting the picture. Right, this one right here. There's no way they would have been able to. His body would have been completely covered. The Secret Service, their job is to completely cover the president and get him to his car. Once they make their decision that they're going to move, they move. They don't stop. They don't talk about it. Once they get that clearance over the radio, say, okay, are we good? We'll get it clear. Has the threat been eliminated? Can we move now? And they which I heard the transmissions on one of the channels, they played those transmissions, say, okay, we're moving. So they would have gotten him up and got him directly to that car without him stopping 3 times like he did. He stopped 3 different times to pump his fist where his body is fully exposed. One of the pictures, his head is totally exposed. They have a picture from his chest up that's exposed. They have one picture from his waist up that's totally exposed. And the Secret Service people are standing beside him, not even trying to cover him or protect him. It don't happen like that. The Secret Service job is to cover the president, sweep him to the car as quick as possible. As soon as something like that happens, they make up their mind they're going to move. They get him in the car. When Ronald Reagan was shot, if you notice, they rushed him. They covered his body up, pushed him down, covered up his body, and rushed him to the car. Stuck him directly in the car. President Trump, he stopped. One point, he stopped when he first stood up. And Madam Producer, I think you have that photo. When he first got shot, he stood up and he's pumping his fist. That's when he went fight, fight, fight. This one right here. If you notice, you can't even see Secret Service people on the left side of this picture. You see one guy on one side of him. He's not trying to cover him and protect him in anything. He's allowing to sit there and take pictures. Those 3 photographers that was there in the front, they was able to get these pictures because, to me, looked like they were planned. I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm not. I don't know everything. But it's just so much stuff going on in these pictures that make it suspicious to me. He stood there, he pumped his fist 3 or 4 times, said fight, fight, fight. A good 2 to 3 seconds went by before they had him moving again. totally unexposed. They had the female Secret Service agent there who was shorter than the president, and usually in those situations they have Secret Service agents that are taller than the president, so they can particularly shield. Shield his body completely. They just happened to have the shortest Secret Service agent. Notice she wasn't in the back; she was right in the front, so they can get a perfect shot at his face of the picture. I mean, it's just so much going on in this that just make it crazy to me. In this picture right here, if you leave it here for 1 second, this shows the 3 pictures that the photographers are bragging about in that video that we have for you. The one is with him sitting when he's on the ground, and they were able to take that picture with him, blood going down his face. The second one was the bullet coming past, zooming past his head there. And then this third one down here. I mean, how much of an iconic, perfect pose is this right here? And keep in mind, this is after the president has assassination attempt has been on the president seconds afterwards. And they let him stand there with his fist, his whole body is exposed. The agents aren't even trying to cover him or protect him or anything. And it just happened to be the perfect picture of Old Glory waving in the background. He's standing there with his fist with blood coming down his ear. I mean, that's a perfect, iconic picture that you would want. If you're a candidate running for president, somebody made an assassination attempt at you. It's just how does all this just fall in line for him? It's just so suspicious to me. That picture was I wouldn't be surprised if they staged that. They worked on that picture prior to that happening. They knew exactly where to stop. He knew exactly when to raise his fist, and they knew the flag was going to be blowing in the background like that. It's just too perfect of a picture. And like I said, they let those photographers stay right there in the front and take pictures like that. You saw the guy with Secret Service, the one that had on all his tack gear with the AR-15 that ran on the edge of the stage. He ran down there with them and didn't even make those photographers back up. It don't work like that, people. It just don't work like that. And it's just so suspicious to me. How they were able to stand there and keep taking those photographers were there because they were told to be there.
We're going to come back with on the other half of the break, and this is a grave situation again. One person lost their life, 2 people were seriously ill, but the videotape that we're going to show, I don't know, we have the ability to slow it down. What Tim is describing, we're going to look at, and it's almost comedic. If it were not for lives being injured and lives being lost, it's almost comedic. We're going to come back and we're going to look at some more video and look at just how the Secret Service learned to get it right and saw them when they got it right, compared to this debacle all the way around, which leads for people like us to be able to criticize and critique and say, hey, something's phony in Denmark. We'll be right back. Go Giga Creations, what can I say? They are simply the best. That's right, Tina Turner. They're simply the best. They got you. They got Kim and out east. They got me down here in the bottom. We got all kind of video evidence. We're going to make this case tonight. We're going to make people think about this more than what the networks have been able to do, because they are the quote unquote bringing the unfake news. We're bringing the real news. Go Giga Creations, we love you. We appreciate it. They got your web designing, web building, all of your needs. Just go to them right now. Go GigaCreations.com. They got you. We are the best endorsers for them because they make us look the best. This is a nice short shout out at the break point, because we're getting right back to the video evidence, as Warner Wolf would say. We want to shout out NBC and the Paris Olympic Committee. Very rarely have I just looked for the Olympics on TV. Usually I happen to come across it, or I look for, of course, basketball or certain events. Kind of like South Florida, we're all excited now. We're all hockey fans because the Panthers won. I've seen so many Panther shirts on people who look like me, who probably never would have thought to even buy one like that. And it's just kind of a thing that gets you an interest every 4 years. But NBC and the Paris Olympic Committee went to great lengths to make this a remarkable production. The introductory ceremony on 2 Friday nights was just breathtaking. It was a concept where they walked the torch, and the creativity, mixing cartoons and science fiction and everything with the production, where they marched to the torch and handed it off. The mystery involved with it was just absolutely superb. And we have just been looking at the water cameras, the in-water cameras, the cameras from Hyde. It has just been an absolutely marvelous production. USA is not doing too bad over there. Of course, that other country is banned because of cheating, not because of the war crimes that they're currently committing in Ukraine, but they were banned because of previous cheating. But the United States is well represented. Our basketball team's doing well. We're doing well. Just shout out to the city of Paris, to France, and to NBC for making this Olympics. I know we got 2 more weeks to go, or another week or so, but making this an absolutely fabulous must-see TV production. All right, we're back to this because we want to wrap this up. So, Madam Producer, I didn't get a chance to. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is line up the Kennedy video, line up the Reagan video, and then we're going to bring back my video my first one that you did. We're going to come back and look at that. And if you have the ability to do it in slow motion, we'll do it that way. So let's see the Kennedy video to see what was learned from what happened in Dallas in 1963.
Through Dallas, a 1961 4-door Lincoln Continental.
Big, beautiful Lincoln.
Nearly.
Okay, we stopped the video at that point because it was a matter of seconds before the first shots were fired. The first shots were allegedly fired from the Texas Book Depository, and the angle was from the 6th floor, and it was an angle, but the distance was almost identical to the distance of the shooter. And it's remarkable that he had studied all of these videos and the distances and all of that. But that was a moving target. Trump was pretty much what you would call stationary. He only was moving his head. You've seen him do this stupid dance move that he does. Other than that, he's a stiff orator. He's a stiff individual. So it made it easy for him. And not only did that shooter in Pennsylvania have a scope, but he also had the stand that you put the rifle on. So there was a lot of things going on in that. There were a lot of things going on that we were that happened on that day. So with that being said, let's go back and look at the Reagan tape and see how it's done correctly. Kim made reference to that. Let's see how the Secret Service works at its best.
Ronald Reagan was 2 months into his presidency when John Hinckley Jr. drew a $29 handgun outside the Washington Hilton Hotel on March 30th, 1981. He wounded the president, Brady, a Secret Service agent, and a Washington police officer. Reagan and his guards fully recovered, but the .22 caliber bullet exploded into Brady's forehead and left him partially paralyzed. He spent the rest.
Okay, Madam Producer, the only thing with that.
Can I say something real quick about that?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna point this out real quick now. But if you notice, when the shots were fired, the camera was on Reagan, and then they flashed over to the other guy. When the camera went back, you ain't even see no signs of Reagan. He was gone. I mean, that's just how quick it is. They get you out of there. They don't let you sit there and second guess this and pump your fist and all that kind of stuff. He was gone. And that's what that video shows it so perfectly. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. The only thing, and I regret that tape did not show them getting Reagan as you had described. I had one that it showed him actually getting him in the vehicle. And I mean, they literally broke his back getting him in the vehicle so quickly and pushing him in there. And once they got him in there, before they took off, they did a quick examination of his body, scanning, rubbing him from top to bottom. And that's when they discovered the blood and knew that he was bleeding in the lungs. And they got away from the scene. But you saw absolute perfectionism.
Yes.
The service at its best. You saw that brother who was the lead agent at that scene. He got the shooter and made sure that I'm old enough to remember the Oswald shooting. A lot of people think that Jack Ruby shot Oswald to cover up a further conspiracy. And Kim, Mom and I actually, I think it was you were born, or maybe you were a year old. We were actually sitting there looking at TV when they were transferring Oswald they were going to take him from one jail to the other, and Jack Ruby on national TV shot him. Mm-hmm. That lead agent made sure nothing like that would happen because they made a barricade around the shooter, and anything that looked suspicious, they were taking them down. And I just regret that we didn't show how just what you said earlier, how strongly they pushed Reagan, how quickly they got him in the car, and the car actually started taking off when they discovered the bleeding and made it a code 3 run to the hospital when they, and fortunately, he had been hit in a lung, and it was a lung was nicked, and they didn't get him in the hospital not a minute too soon. Now, if we can go back, everything that you've been saying, and Madam Producer, I don't know, I didn't ask you this. If you can, let's go back and look at that first video of mine of the Trump shooting. Everything that Kim said, let's go back and look at how ridiculous it was compared to what we just saw.
Take a look at what happened.
What is this? What is it? Is this a stage moment? Is this a moment that is this a moment to be free? Threat to the no. Your protecting is supposed to be cocooned inside of those agents. And it looks like we got some kind of dance going on where if you slowed it down,
So that didn't actually show his second stop. The first one, they showed him pumping his fist. Like I said, with a female agent in front of him, she happens to be so short that you can just see his whole head, leave his head and all his shoulders up exposed. That would not happen. The agents on that team, that cover team right there, would have been tall enough where they would have, all they had to do was stand up and cover him. And then they would have made an extra effort to push him down and protect his head and his body and make sure that he's covered up. In one shot, you notice the guy kind of put his hand up like he's trying to protect his face. But Trump moves and they just let him stand right there, and the guys are snapping perfect pictures of him. It's so suspicious. They're snapping perfect pictures of him.
Actually stopped. They stopped and waited.
That's 3 times total. 3 times total. That was the first time they showed. And then when he get to the edge of the steps, just to show you how ridiculous this is, his hat fell off, and the female Secret Service agent bends down and picks up his cap. Then she later picks up his shoe. I think it's Trump's shoe. His shoe comes off or something. They've been out. They wouldn't even care about all that. They would have been rushing him to the car. It's just too much going on, and for the average citizen probably don't know how that works. But the Secret Service don't work like that. They just don't work like that. And if anybody got questions, ask your question, because I want to hear your theory on it as well. I'm not just trying to give my theory, because my theory don't make it right. I want to hear questions from people. I mean, Secret Service just don't work like that.
Yeah, please put your questions in the text. Mac has been, and Bernard is saying now, who you gonna believe, Trump or our lying eyes, allowing Trump to pose? It was posing. That was not, our eyes weren't lying. He actually posed, and the service. So one of the things that Congress, when they, thankfully, it was sad seeing the lady directress of the agency. She had no answers. She had no facts. She didn't even take the time before her appearance to get a timeline or anything. At least the guy who's filling in now has gone to the scene. He has already mentioned what went wrong. The only thing he did let Congress know that when they asked were those agents fired yet, he said there's government protection, just like civil service protection for civil employees. They got to go through a process to fire them, because everything you're saying is absolutely wrong. I mean, it's crazy that normally when they brought him up, since he was taller than they would have had him bent over while they're walking him out. That was
exactly.
His behind would have been bent over. There would have been an agent to keep him bent over while they walked him through. It almost looked so crazy. It looked like they stopped and pointed like a dance and said, "Okay, let's go," and they all took off. It was comical. The only thing I saw about that whole process was they covered him originally. They got him up, which was the next thing, even though they didn't get him up covered. And then finally, when his daddy would say monkey shining, he wanted to stand up when he got in the car and want to pump his fist again. And one agent did finally shove his behind into the SUV.
I got to interrupt you real quick. You said they covered him when he initially went down. They didn't cover him when he initially went down, because that photographer who was able to get that picture of him when he was down and the blood was coming from his ear, if that would have been a second shooter, they would have had the ideal shot right at his head. So they did protect him when he first went down. They never protected him. So I mean, they jumped on top of him, but they had that photographer had the ideal shot. Like I said, if that would have been a decoy, the first shots fired when he went down, those cameramen that ran up to him, they had the ideal shot at his head. I mean, right at his head. And that's the first thing that Secret Service protects is your head and your torso area, because your vital organs are here. They protect your head naturally, and then they protect your vital organs. They didn't do it, man. They just didn't do it. And it's not the way Secret Service works. Remember I said collateral damage. You were talking about the female that was in charge of Secret Service. She was collateral damage too, probably. They probably had all this stuff set up. I said they couldn't mess up. Said they had glued down, man. They ain't gonna mess it up. But she was collateral damage too. That's why she didn't answer no questions when she went before Congress. She didn't have no answers because she was collateral damage. She probably knew ahead of time what was going on, and I'm just gonna go in there and say I can't answer that right now. I can't answer this right now. The FBI is taking over. That whole thing was a joke when they talked to her. That was if you're in charge of Secret Service, she never even went to the scene. Come on, man. It's just too much going on that didn't happen. It's just too much. I sat and watched that, and I've kind of paid attention to this whole thing. What really sold me was when they had that. There's a guy that does a show on Fox Network, a black guy, light-skinned black guy, and he's very, I won't say militant, but he used to be a Secret Service agent, and he got on there and he talked about how Secret Service blew so many coverages on him and all that, and that it looked suspicious to him, and for him to say that, because he's a big Trump supporter. Yeah. He's the trumpeter, and for him to get on there and say that stuff that it looked suspicious to him, that really made my ears stand up. So it's just so much that didn't happen that should have happened. Like I said, that when he initially went down, they had a perfect shot at his head. If the cameraman would have been gunman.
I got what you're saying now. Yeah.
And then when they and like you said, when they got him up, they let him sit there and pose, pump his fist 3 times, and he said, "Fight, fight, fight." 3 times.
Unbelievable.
It's just so much that and then when they got him to the edge of the stage before they walked him down, and you got the shortest Secret Service person there standing in front of him, and she bends over. If you look at that picture, that's one reason why I sent that picture. She's bent over to make sure that she ain't blocking the view of him standing there pumping his fist and doing all that. It's just so much going on that wouldn't happen. It would not have happened with Secret Service. So I don't, I know he's not a standing president, but he still gets Secret Service protection and Secret Service training. And that they look like a bunch of, idiots out there that day. Nobody did their duty. Nobody did what they're trained to do, in my opinion. So
yeah, they look like rank amateurs. You're absolutely right. He was not protected when he was on the ground. And then when he came up, that should have been a brisk, protected walk, that if a shot were to go down, in order to hit him being a target, the bullet would have had to gone through an agent. And that was just not the case. You
Well,
saw,
like I said, I actually heard the transmission. They played it on one of the channels right after this happened. 2 days after it happened, they actually had the transmission. Are we moving? Are we moving? And I think the guy was Hawkeye or something. Hawkeye, are we moving? And they said, so give me a second. Yeah, we're moving. Let's go. They got up and they stood there. You know, they had the proper transmission, like they're getting ready to haul his butt up out of there, but they let him stand there and pump his fist there and then go to the edge of the stage, do it again, where his whole body from his waist up is exposed. And he's just happened to be right in front of that camera where to get that perfect picture. Look, you look at this picture we're showing now.
Unbelievable.
There's an agent on his right hand side. If you're looking at the screen, there's an agent on his right. He's not doing anything to protect to shield him or anything.
What is he
on the back of him? Nobody behind
at?
him in this picture. How does that happen?
What is he looking at? I almost wonder.
The agent, I don't know if that's when he dropped his hat. If that's at that looks like it's at the edge of the stage right before they took him down, and he may have dropped his hat because the female is right under his right arm that's raised. She's right under his right arm, and she's nowhere in the picture. She's probably bent over picking up the hat, and he might be looking down at the hat or something. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but that's what it looks like. The picture in the middle right here, you got half of his body, all his vital organs are exposed right here in this picture. If you go to a shooting range, if you look at the silhouettes that you shoot at, you notice they go from the waist up. And the reason why they go from the waist up, because all your vital organs are right here inside your torso area. And of course, your head is a vital area to shoot. They got all his vital areas totally exposed right here. Nobody in front of him, nobody protecting him from the other side. I mean, it's just, they just don't work like that. Secret Service don't work that way. You know,
I continue to contend that it was almost like, if it wasn't so serious, it would be like almost like a comedic, let's point, let's walk. And all of him is just exposed. And like you say, one agent stuck his hand. Are you kidding me? His behind should have been bent over. So it's nothing secret now. You've done 4 presidents. I guarded Reagan. I was calling the last minute because the Secret Service at the last minute deemed, and there's another thing, they deemed that they were not comfortable with the protection when they reassessed the scene just prior to him arriving. And I was mandated after working a midnight shift to work that detail. And I was right at the press box where Reagan was to enter to go in. And I had to be assigned with an agent because I had not been cleared. But they wanted an extra gun on the scene, an extra show of force. So the one thing that impressed me was that, and this was after the assassination attempt on his life, that he was like almost cocooned from the second that motorcade arrived to the second they got him back inside and away from outside protection. You know, there was at all times there were people that were taller than he was, and people that and he knew to duck. And all of those things were in place. And, you know, I had been given that short-term, tutelage to do that we stand in front of him. I did Jesse Jackson before he got Secret Service protection. And I knew, I said, he's half an inch taller than I am. I said, Dr. Jackson, you got to bend behind me. If it's the shooting, is, I'm going to stand, but you got to make yourself behind me until we can get you to a wall.
And they already know that. They've been told all that stuff.
You're going to protect them. And it's
They've all been told that stuff.
And Trump knew that too. That's what
I'm saying. They've been told that stuff, what to do. This guy was a president for 4 years. Trust me. He's been told what to do in the event.
You saw how he went down.
Happened. He already knew that he got to get down and all that. They already know what to do. It's not like their first rodeo when something happens. They already have training and all that kind of stuff. They know what to do. And he did none of that, So once they got him to the car, he stood on the step up thing on the car and pumped his fist a third time, exposed his body a third time. Yeah. It's just so much that wouldn't happened in here. You look at one of the agents, one of the female agents trying to holster her weapon when they was getting him in the car. And then she finally couldn't get a hold. She finally pulled it back out and just held the position. But these agents didn't even look like real Secret Service agents to me. Yeah, it was look like real Secret Service agents to me. It just didn't look right,
So two things happened. It was, and I can tell by Bernard and Max's comments that that there's suspicion about the legitimacy of the whole day, and that's really hard for me to bring suspicion on something where somebody lost their life. I just would hate to think
I agree.
would do that. And I know this man is desperate. I know what happened on January the 6th. He'd do anything to get back in the White House. He'd run to the White House to run away from the jailhouse. I get all of that. I understand collateral damage and all of that. I'm just trying to give the benefit of the doubt that we're just taking a stretch. But the other thing, the debacles of the Secret Service agent, what you just said about that agent trying to get her gun and reholster, it was just horrendous. I'm sure all of those agents are going to lose their jobs once everything has been done. And their supervisors, as a supervisor or a sergeant, we go to the chain of command and police rank, a sergeant and lieutenant, all the way up the line to the director loses their job because 6 people make a horrendous scene. So we got suspicion about what happened, and then we got total debacles by the agents. There's nowhere in the world after Dallas that a perimeter should not have exceeded that roof. That young man,
Exactly.
he climbed up the 45 minutes. It came out in the testimony to Congress. The 45 minutes they were concerned about him. They had seen him with the rangefinder. They seen a ladder. They had seen, and then when they saw him walking, there was so much suspicion, but they never coordinated the radio communications with the local police department who was assigned as the extra show of force. And that is unacceptable. Unacceptable. There's no way that roof that close should have been outside of a perimeter. So,
and I don't know if you saw the video. They had a video that I just saw not too long ago that I hadn't seen before of the shooter actually running on the roof up there, running. With his probably from his waist up, you can see him running. I guess to get position to make those shots.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to point out for a trained shooter, and this guy, like I said, he was on the shooting team at school. After that first shot, you heard 3 shots, pop, pop, pop. Yeah. A trained sniper, after you miss that first shot, you're not gonna miss that second shot probably, because especially, if you shooting that pop, 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 you're not gonna miss that second shot like that. Even so, if Trump did move his head to the right, he still should have been a perfect target of a trained sniper. So it's just so much. And like I said, the fact that the guy lost his life and 2 people were shot. I just hope, for his sake and for their family's sake, that they weren't just collateral damage just to make it look like something. And this guy, the shooter, the who knows, this lady that was over Secret Service, the way she got in Congress and testified, or didn't testify is what I shouldn't say. She might be set for life now. They told her, go in there and fumble this and do that, and we're gonna set you up for life. If he paid a porn star, what's to say he's not gonna pay her to go in there and do what she did? So it's just so much, and you have to look at the man past. It's Donald Trump. You got to look at him like that. It's just so many coincidental things that took place at this assassination attempt that just don't make sense to me. There's a lot of them that don't make sense. The Secret Service is one of the top regarded as one of the top agencies in the country. I know FBI is supposed to be the creme de la creme, but Secret Service got to be right there because they guard the president.
Yeah.
They and they didn't guard the president on that day. So it's just too many examples of mistakes that were made, or what are mistakes.
If we were really stretching, we got to get you out of it. We were stretching the conspiracy theory. We say the shooters, the snipers, the Secret Service snipers were advising this kid where he was positioned, but just after he missed Trump, then they suddenly get it. They suddenly get him. He should have been in their scopes as soon as he was reported.
As soon as he got up on the roof.
Yeah, exactly.
When he was running along the roof, they should have had a scope pointed at him. They would have had the scope pointed at him, and his spotter, that whoever had that scope, his spotter would have been telling him what that guy got in his hands and everything else. that's. I mean, I'm not trying to make it sound like I know everything. I was a sniper on the SWAT team here in Jacksonville, and I had some good training. I'm thankful for the training I received. But a lot of times you have a spotter sitting there with you that's telling you what that person is doing and all that. So you zoomed in on that particular place where you're going to shoot him, and that spotter's telling you, okay, he got something in his hand. Go ahead. And they already have a green light. Secret Service has a green light to take the shot when they see a threat. They don't have to wait for permission from a supervisor.
Right.
You know, if a guy's got a scope rifle pointed at the president, at your target, then that's a green light. You know, they should have took the shot from the beginning. They wait till after he fired 3 shots. No, it don't work like that. It's just, I can sit here and nitpick this thing all night and just bring up what I think are valid points of what shouldn't have taken place. You know, it just don't. Thank you. Bernard says if it don't make sense, you know, it just don't make sense. And there's too many things that don't make sense. There's too many of them.
Too many things.
So
and also climbed up, and he pointed the gun at the officer, and that officer had to literally fall down to avoid being shot. That should have been a sign that somebody, it's time to pop. It's time to take him out. It's time to take him out.
Yeah.
Well, we've investigated it. We've called it. We've shown how it was done correctly. We've shown how it was terribly messed up in Butler, Pennsylvania. Nobody can do this like my brother. Kim Varner, go ahead and summarize this as you see it.
Well, I'm gonna sum it up real quick and real easy. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Tell me what the Secret Service did right, because I can go all day telling you what they did wrong. Was it designed to go that way? Something was wrong, because I mean they made too many mistakes in a row, and I don't want to call them mistakes because they're like they were intentional. So prove me wrong. That's all I want to say. Is I'm gonna sum it up out like that. You know, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong, and I can show you video and pictures. Pictures don't lie.
Dialogue with Dozie. It's best when these boys are together. Hey, next week we're gonna mark 40 years of the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain. That was an iconic classic of a movie and a soundtrack, and one of the greatest artists to ever grace the earth, Prince Rogers Nelson. That's next Monday night, right here, Dialogue with Dozie. We're going to look at the 40th anniversary. We're going to look back. We're going to look at the interviews of the players, the characters, the band members, a little footage of the movie. We'll see how much we can get away with. And we're just going to look back and have a good time looking back 40 years ago. Purple Rain, Purple Rain. Dialogue with Dozie. KV, what's up? We out, man.
Deuces.
Thank you.